The sun blazed high over the temple of Edfu, but the air was heavy with tension. The gods of Egypt stood in silence, their divine forms shimmering under the golden light. They had gathered to witness a battle that would determine the fate of the throne. At the center of the sacred arena, two warriors faced each other. Horus, the falcon-headed god, stood tall, his golden armor gleaming like the sun. His wings, edged with divine energy, flexed at his sides. In his hand, he gripped a spear tipped with the light of Ra himself. Opposite him stood Set, the god of storms and chaos. His red skin glowed in the scorching heat, his dark armor etched with ancient power. In his grasp, he held a massive war spear, crackling with red lightning. Set's lips curled into a sneer. Set, this is a fool's fight, Horus. You were never meant to rule. Horus did not waver. Horus, Egypt does not belong to chaos. Testless. Chaos is what makes the strong rise above the weak. The wind howled. The gods watching from above whispered among themselves. Would this be the day Egypt chose its rightful ruler? Then the battle began, the clash of gods. Set struck first, lunging forward with a brutal swing of his spear. Lightning arced through the sky as the weapon hurtled toward Horus. Horus leapt into the air, wings spread wide, dodging the blow with a flash of golden light. Running already? Horus spun mid-air and dove down like a falling star, his spear ignited with Ra's light as he aimed for Set's heart. But Set was faster than expected. He sidestepped at the last moment, twisting his spear upward, catching Horus in mid-air and slamming him into the ground. The temple floor cracked beneath Horus's impact. The gods gasped. Dust rose around him. Pathetic. But before Set could strike again, the dust cleared, and Horus was already back on his feet. Horus's eyes burned like twin suns. With a powerful flap of his wings, he surged forward, spinning his spear in rapid strikes. Each blow clashed against Set's weapon, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. Lightning flashed. Stone cracked. Set countered, summoning a sandstorm with a single swing of his hand. The storm howled around them, blinding Horus as razor-sharp sand cut at his skin. You cannot fight what you cannot see. Horus closed his eyes. He did not need sight. He felt the shift in the wind, the energy of his opponent. With a precise strike, Horus drove his spear forward, straight into Set's chest. The fall and rise. Set let out a roar, stumbling back. Golden light burst from the wound. But the Chaos God's fury was not so easily extinguished. With a savage snarl, Set grasped the spear still embedded in his body and wrenched it out. Horus barely had time to react before Set slammed his fist into his chest. The impact sent Horus flying across the temple, crashing into a pillar. The ancient stone shattered. For the first time, Horus coughed, blood staining his lips. Tets. You are not your father, you are weak. Horus pressed his hand to the broken pillar, using it to stand. His wings were battered, his body bruised, but his spirit did not falter. Horus, I do not fight for myself, I fight for Egypt. Set rolled his eyes. Set, Egypt belongs to the strongest. That has always been the law of gods and mortals alike. He lifted his spear for the final blow. Lightning surged along its edge, but Horus was already moving. In a final burst of divine speed, Horus surged forward. Set's spear came down, but Horus twisted at the last second, dodging the strike. Before Set could recover, Horus drove his spear deep into Set's chest. The gods gasped in shock. Golden light erupted from the wound, engulfing Set in blinding radiance. Set let out a roar of defiance, his body trembling from the overwhelming force. His power wavered, his strength faded. For the first time, Set staggered. The judgment of the gods. Before Set could recover, a voice thundered across the battlefield. Raid, enough. The storm ceased. The wind stilled. The battle was over. Ra descended from the heavens, his golden light illuminating the battlefield. He gazed upon the fallen Set, then turned to Horus, who stood tall despite his wounds. Ra, the gods have seen, the battle is decided. Set gritted his teeth, clutching his chest. He glared at Horus, but even he knew he had lost. Ra turned to Horus. Ra, you have proven your strength, but more importantly, your heart. The throne of Egypt is yours. Horus lowered his spear. He had won, but he did not celebrate. He looked down at Set, his uncle, his enemy, and for the first time he saw not a god of chaos, but a god who had lost everything. Set looked away, scowling. Finish it then. Horus shook his head. Horus, no. Set blinked. Horus. Whereas often your punishment is not death, Set. It is exile. Ra nodded in approval. Ra, so it shall be. Set, you are cast from the realm of the gods. You will wander the deserts, never to rule. Set's eyes burned with anger, but beneath it, a flicker of something else. Perhaps for the first time, Set realized he had lost more than a battle. Without another word, Set turned and disappeared into the endless sands. The gods watched in silence. The war was over. Horus turned toward the temple. He stepped forward, standing where his father once stood. The new king of Egypt had risen.